What's up everyone, it's Mike Sherrard and welcome to my video podcast series where I interview top realtors and entrepreneurs from around the globe and show you their story from zero to achieving massive success in their industry. Let's get into it. What's up everyone? In today's episode of From Zero, we have Kwame Osei, who went from zero to football superstar and Amazing Race Canada Heroes Edition finalist. But let me take a step back for a second. This is a true from zero start. Kwame grew up in a rough neighborhood, was stabbed, held at gunpoint, and has achieved massive success. This is a story of humility, making an impact, and breaking down labels and barriers. I went to school with Kwame. This is going to be a story that not even I know, and I'm so excited to share it with you. Make sure you stay for the entire interview. It's going to be jam-packed with inspiration. Let's introduce you to Kwame. All right, what is up, everyone? We are back with another episode of the From Zero podcast video series, and we have Kwame here today, man. So just as I mentioned in the interview, this is a very impactful guy that I have so much respect for. You know, not only, as I mentioned, did he go from Amazing Race Heroes Edition, but he has been a star football player. He gives back apparel, non-profit. He does so much to give back. And he's a hero in himself, but also has heroes that he aspires to be. So welcome, Kwame. I'm going to let you give people an introduction because you have a story, man, that blows my mind. And I'm so excited to share with everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm truly humbled to be here. Yeah, just like you said, I'm currently a teacher in Holy Trinity High School in Fort McMurray. I went to STFX with my man, Mike, you know, shout out to the ex. But that where I am today didn't just happen overnight. Where I am today, if you knew my beginnings, you would have never thought I'd be where I am today. You know, I grew up, well, I was born in Ghana, which is in Africa, West Africa. Came up to Canada when I was 4 years old. Grew up in Rexdale, which is a pretty rough area in Toronto. Growing up, I didn't have many positive influences around me. I looked up to the wrong people. I looked up to all the gangsters, the thugs, just because they were the cool people in my eyes. You know, they had the girls, they had the nice cars, the money, and the people that were actually doing positive things and were doing good in school. Like I had older cousins that were doing good in school would always tell me right from wrong. I never really listened to them because they weren't cool in my books. I listened to my cousins that were doing the wrong things. They just were more gravitating towards. So I got caught up in the wrong crowd, to say the least. I got involved with the gangs, the drugs, all that stuff. But fortunately, I never got in too deep. And I'm so grateful for that. And one thing that really changed my perspective was when my older cousin, who I really looked up to, he was like my superhero growing up. He died at the age of 28.
Wow.
When he died, prior to him dying, he was in jail for about, between 19 and 28, he was in jail for about like 8 to 9 of those years, right? And I barely saw him. And when he died, I realized one thing. You know, I specifically remember going to his casket and looking at his open casket and just realizing that this guy who I idolized and loved and admired didn't do anything with his life. You know, he never graduated high school, never graduated university. Even regardless of that, he just didn't have a decent job. Like the streets wasn't paying him enough money to take care of his 2 little girls for the rest of their life. So I realized that this guy didn't do anything. You know, he hasn't accomplished anything. And I at that moment, I made it my goal to make sure I did the things that he was never able to do, you know? So that's why when I was in university and I got into university and I thought I was successful at that point because I was the first person in my family to ever make it to university. But I wasn't there with the right mindset. Until that happened, my mindset kind of shifted and I started to kind of steer in the right direction, even though it took a while to actually get there. Like literally my first year at university, I was almost expelled out of university. And then like the profs and even Leo McPherson, Gary Waterman, they know what I'm talking about. I was literally almost expelled. Like nobody wanted me there because I was a troubled child. You know, I came in there with the mentality that I had from Rexdale to a new opportunity, a great place in effects where I didn't have to be a thug and a goon, but I had that same mindset, that goon mindset. And I came there, and I'm so fortunate I didn't get expelled. Honestly, had I gotten expelled or had I gotten a criminal record, I wouldn't be a teacher right now. Right, I would have never been on the Amazing Race Canada right now. So, long story short, I did a bunch of bad things that we can't talk about if you ask, but I'm not gonna get into the specific detail. But I did a lot of things that I should have never done while I was at X, and everything almost got taken away from me. Not only was I almost expelled, I almost lost my hand. I almost got amputated because of a certain situation. So those things pretty much woke me up and made me realize that I need to do something with my life. So I put everything into the opportunities STFX gave me, and I started different initiatives, myself and a bunch of my friends, Koshi Mwamba, Enoch Mwamba, Akeem Foster, Kwasi Nkanza. We all started this new thing at STFX called the X Athletes for Charity event, which is still happening at STFX. I think it's about 6 years since we've been there. We're probably like in a year of having that, and we started that. So that's something cool that we did, and that sparked everything that I'm doing right now. So it's been a crazy journey. Also played for the Toronto Argonauts at one point. That was a dream come true, and now I'm just trying to live my best life.
That's amazing, man. And you know, I got to take a step back for a second because I didn't know a lot of that. And, you know, from my perspective in university, and for those who don't know this, I went to university with Kwame, and, you know, when I saw this man, this huge jacked motherfucker, man, this guy was a beast. And he was friends again with Enoch Mwamba, who went to the NFL. And I look up at these people and I kind of idolized them, right? I saw these figures who were athletes, star athletes, had all the girls, had everything. It was like, you see these people, but as I just realized, you know, you don't know where these people come from. So there's times where you have these idolizations where you're like, man, they're so lucky. They have it all. They're, you know, you almost discredit people because of the optics and the perception. But when you hear, man, this dude had family members passing away, he wasn't raised with a silver spoon, you know, it puts things into perspective and, you know, almost humbles you knowing where some of these people came from, because even though, you know, instead of discrediting them, give them that opportunity to say, wow, man, look what these people have made for themselves. You know, it's wow, man, that's an exciting intro. And I didn't know that. So I appreciate that, man. So I want to get into a bit more because, you know, you've done the non-for-profit charity work. You've done the book, man. You've done kids books. You've done clothing, man. You give back in so many ways. You've gone from the athletes, and again, this isn't to discredit people, but oftentimes university athletes from small towns have their 15 seconds of fame in university, and then they don't do much afterward. And that's the unfortunate reality of it. But that was just the beginning for you, man. You've skyrocketed after that. So what have you done since university, and what's with the focus on kids? Because that's so impactful, knowing that you've got to focus, man, on the youth.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny you brought up university, about just university stars getting caught up in that 15 seconds of fame. That was one thing I told myself I would never let happen. I never got caught up in the big fish in a small pond thing. And maybe that's just because I pride myself on being humble. I've been that way since I was a kid. That's something my mom has instilled in me, you know, and I'm a strong believer, and you know me, man, like I'm sure we met before in the bars and whatever. I'm not the type of person that's stuck up and thinks they're all up here. You know, I respect anybody from from the 80-year-old to the 1-year-old. You know, I just believe I can learn from everybody. So I've always prided myself on that, and I never let those type of things get in my head. Even when I made the CFL, I never let that stuff get in my head, and that's what I try to instill in the youth today, in all my kids. All our team motto is humble and hungry. You know, that's our goal. We're humble to be able to play this game. We're humble on the field. We're humble with the opportunity, but at the same time, we're hungry and tenacious to win, hungry and tenacious to chase after our goals. So that's the way I live my life, you know. So after university, I got a job here in Fort McMurray by accident, to tell you the truth. So what happened was, I was with the Argonauts. I got a degree at STFX, is that we go on this job fair in Halifax, right? And I went just for the interview experience aspect. In my mind, I thought I was still gonna get a shot with various CFL teams I had workouts with, and I just did it just for the heck of it. So I had an interview with Fort McMurray Catholic. Went great. George McGuigan, the superintendent, wanted to literally hire me on the spot, but I told him, listen, George, I'm keep it real with you. I'm still trying to do this football thing. I don't know about teaching. I do want to teach, but just not now. And George was very, very cool and understanding about the situation. And he told me, you know what, let's make a contract. If you get an opportunity with the CFL, we'll void that contract. And I said, great. That summer, unfortunately, I had 2 bad injuries, literally happened to be back-to-back, that ruined my opportunities with the workouts that I was going to have. So I called George. I said, I'll come to Fort McMurray for a year and test it out. The year ended up becoming, what am I, 6th year right now, 6 years, which is crazy. And I don't know. I've always had, with regards to why children, I've always had a soft spot for children. Various people over the course of my life have always told me, kids look up to you. You are the leader of the youth. Like I was at a church one time, and a speaker randomly came up to me as he was speaking his sermon. I was out at the back of the church, walked towards me, and then started prophesying in my life about what I'm going to do for the youth. And I'm just kind of there looking at this guy like, okay, but, you know. But yeah, honestly, I'm a strong believer in everything happens for a reason, you know. The CFL thing would have been great, but I think I'm accomplishing way more than I ever would have had I been playing football. And what else you want to know? The book, yes.
Yeah, man, the books and the clothing. I'd like to tap into that, and also sort of how this, you know, you mentioned that it transferred almost into a charity nonprofit. So I like how this all kind of ties in. So let's tap into that, and I'll link the books below. But yeah, explain to people what this is all about and sort of where the motivation was for creating these.
Okay, well, with regards to kids, I always say, as I told you, growing up, I didn't have any positive influences in my life, especially male influences. Mm-hmm. You know, I have a mother and father, and my father was there, but he wasn't there in the way I needed him, because traditional African parents, their mindset is, especially the fathers, they haven't been, they weren't raised the way we would like to be raised, you know, especially in our Western culture. For my dad to be a successful father is making sure there's food on the table, okay, make sure I got clothes, okay, and that's pretty much it. You know, as long as I stay out of trouble, he's done his job. But that relationship aspect was never really there, you know. And part of it is also because I never met my dad till I was 4 years old. My father left Ghana when I was born to travel and get an education, and because of him, I'm here. But that's another story. We'll talk about that later. But anyways, I never met him till I was 4 years old, so I never had that interaction, that connection with him. So when I was going through whatever I was going through when I was younger, needing positive male influences to tell me right from wrong, I started looking towards my cousin, right, or towards the guys that weren't doing much. And I pride myself in wanting to be the person I needed at that time, you know. So I know a lot of kids here and various places that definitely need strong male role models in their life. Not just male role models, but male role models that they can they can connect with, male role models that they have something similar to, that they can relate to, you know.
Definitely.
It's one thing to be telling a kid right from wrong, and it's another thing to tell the kids right from wrong and be relatable to them, right?
Yeah.
Kids don't like, hey, do this, do that, right? They want to know that you understand. And that's the thing about my players. All my players and all the kids I interact with know that I'm not talking down at them. I'm talking with them. I'm having a conversation with them, and I understand them. So that's the biggest thing. I just want to create relationships with every child that I meet, and be that person that they need in their life.
Definitely. And what were those books about?
Okay, so I wrote a book called "If Not Me, Then Who: The Tale of the Little Eagle," and that actually happened by accident, to tell you the truth. It was a
recurring theme.
Story. Yeah, it was a story that I would use in some of my motivational talks when I was at X. I'll go to the different elementary schools around the area, and it was a story I'll tell. And it's just pretty much about not letting your environment dictate who you are, but rather you conquering your environment, you dominating your environment. You know, so it's about eagles and pigeons. Eagles are the successful people that soar above any obstacles. The people that are soaring towards goals. And pigeons are the losers in life. The people that just hang around, don't do anything, want to laugh at people that are trying to aspire to something. The people that just want to sit down and eat chips and do nothing with their lives. And I always use this analogy of the pigeons just hanging around on the cable wire. And the reason why is because in Toronto, when the area I live in Toronto, there's a lot of pigeons for some reason. I don't know. In Antigonish, there's a lot of crows. There's a lot of ravens.
Man,
there's a lot of pigeons. I don't get it. But I always have this vision of always walking towards Albion Mall, which is a mall in my area. And I would always see these pigeons just hanging on the cable wire or in the parking lot, just flocking towards garbage, you know? And in my book, I talk about how the pigeons are just hanging, doing nothing while everybody's just walking towards something. How the pigeons are relying on the food that the human beings drop on the ground in order to eat, while eagles go after the fish in the water. Eagles are doers, right? While pigeons are what's a good word for pigeons? Pigeons are followers, let's just say, right? So it's all about being a leader and not a follower, and that's what that book was about. So I would always say that story in a speech, and a friend of mine told me, Kwame, why don't you just put that in a book? And I looked at her, I'm like, in a book? I'm not an author. What are you talking about? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I needed to, because I prided myself on being able to connect with the various kids that I'll meet at the different schools or wherever I'll meet. But put it in a book is an opportunity to connect with people without ever meeting them. So I decided to put it in the book, and that was about 5-6 years ago. Now I look back and read that book, and I see so many mistakes in it. It is what it is, you know. The message got out there, and right now I'm working on a second book. So that book is not out yet. Right now I'm working on a second book, which is going to be phenomenal. This book is more about showing your talents, not being afraid to show the real you. That's what this book is about. So this one's going to be powerful, and it's generated towards preteen children. So I'd say from age 8 to 12. That's the age group. I think that age group is so powerful, because I find that when kids are teenagers already, they're kind of like have their minds a little bit made up and are being not made up, but they're being influenced by their peers, right? But that preteen group is powerful because they're still pure, right? And they'll soak up anything you tell them. And I want to impact that generation so that when they become teenagers already, they've already been built to endure whatever peer pressure is coming their way. So that's my age range.
That's crazy, man. It's like, just to kind of summarize what you're saying, and there's a line actually from Eminem's new album. I'm sure you've listened to it, but Lucky You, man, where he talks about certain new school people, the inability to pay humility, man. So, you know, when you listen to that line, you look at Kwame, it's like, again, going back to university, man, this guy was huge. He had everything. He could have been feeling himself, right? Like he's doing all right. He was doing well, man. But he kept, listening to your story, man. You had blindfolds on, knowing that you're here not to, suck the life out of university and just have a good time, man. You're here to make an impact and a purpose. So while you could have been, and I did see you at the clubs, man, and you would talk to anyone.
Don't get twisted. I had my fun. Don't get twisted. I had my fun.
Man. You had your fun, but like,
was always there.
Exactly. And to credit you, man, it didn't matter if it was, a first year. I saw so many people approach you, man, and it didn't matter who it was, what race they were, what age they were, how they looked. I saw you from afar treat every single person with the same respect. And, to be completely honest, back in that university life, that was not oftentimes the case, because a lot of these athletes, man, were feeling pretty damn high on their horse. And to watch someone like you, who many people idoled, and still remain in that mindset was beyond inspiring. That's why I was like, I got to follow this guy, man. I know he's going to do something great. So fast forward, we were just watching you on TV, man. So for those who don't know, again, I mentioned in the intro, Kwame was a finalist on The Amazing Race Canada Heroes Edition. So how the heck, man, did you land on that show? Because your promo videos were so inspiring. Walk us through that journey, and what did that experience teach you?
Man, it's crazy, man. So Dylan and I, my partner Dylan, who's the man, by the way, Dylan and I, we got nominated for this. Since it's the Heroes Edition, there's two ways you could be on it. You could audition, or you could apply, or get nominated. And we got nominated.
Wow.
Got an email saying we've been nominated, and to proceed with it, you got to do this video, all this stuff. Keep in mind, prior to this, we never watched the show.
Yeah.
So we do our audition video. And our audition video, we just kept it real. We do. Dylan and I, we have a special bond, man. Like, we really, really feed it off each other. And we also make fun of each other a lot, right? So that's part of our dynamics. So in our audition video, we just kept it true to who we were. And I think the producers definitely saw that. And also with what we do with Northern Elite, which is our nonprofit mentorship program, that also definitely opened doors for us, or made us pop out more towards the producers. But that whole process, man, it's truly humbling. It was truly humbling. I definitely have grown a lot from that experience. Prior to going in, I talked to Dylan. I told him straight up, my two fears are heights and snakes. If I don't have to do heights or have anything to do with snakes, I'm good. And lo and behold, our first challenge had to do with heights. It was Dylan had to do the jump for the beaver, which I was so happy he had to do. And I thought, okay, yes, I lucked out. I won't have to do anything with heights. Then our next challenge was you have to climb up this I think it was like 80-foot log, and it was high. I remember looking at it, and the cameraman got my reaction about it. He was asking me how I felt, because he knew I was afraid of heights, right? And he's like, "How high is it?" I'm like, "Oh man, that's pretty high." So, anyways, if you watch the video, I end up just going up the log and just locking in and just going hard. But if you watch the video, you notice I never ever looked down. There's a reason why I didn't look down.
Yeah.
If I looked down, I was gonna freeze. So I just focused on what I had to focus on, which was going. And I climbed the log, and we did our thing. Next, we're in Jakarta, Indonesia. We have to clean a snake. Now, everybody has these little puny snakes, but we have the huge python. And I'm just like, wow, like I'm really being tested today. And then in the finale, we were on top of a mountain in Banff. Mm-hmm. Literally got dropped on top of a mountain in Banff. And while we were in the helicopter, they said we were going to the top of the mountain, but I thought we were just gonna fly by and we have to look for a clue and say, oh, there's a landmark, and just keep going. But they dropped us on top of the mountain. And then we had we're at the top, but it was like another part where we had to climb up to get the clue, right? Now, they drop us on where they dropped us, and we have to walk or run to another destination that's a little bit higher. And I remember this specific situation as we were going. As we're running, I remember looking down and seeing that like the side of the mountain was just flat, like it was sloped down. As we're running, I looked down, and in my head, I said to myself, I could die.
Mm-hmm.
I could literally die, because we didn't have a harness on or anything like that. I said to myself, I could literally die. And like, I remember feeling my knees buckle. I remember feeling my stomach just turn. But then I just focused on what we had to do and just run up, right? Now, I'll say that was the most powerful moment of the race, because after that, literally after that, I just feel invincible. It's weird. Like, I just feel like I could do anything. Like, what's fear at this point? You know, like, I was literally at the top of my mountain. How many people can say they were there? You know,
Yeah,
so
man. And for people who don't know where Kwame and I are, Google Banff, because these mountains are no joke. So it's not like Kwame got dropped off on a hill or, you know, a small mountain. These mountains, the Rocky Mountains in Alberta, are massive and they are savage, man. Some of the descents and the drops and the cliffs that you come up unexpected are insane. So for you to be having a fear of heights and come up on that is insane.
Bro, yeah, it definitely changed me. It definitely changed me for the better.
Yeah.
But it was an experience I had to go through, and I'm definitely fortunate and happy I went through that experience. And obviously, Dylan and I didn't win, but I truly believe that what's to come is going to be greater than any money or winnings we would have had from the Amazing Race, and it's starting to show already.
I love that, man. It seems to be a reoccurring theme with you. You know, you could have done more in the CFL, but you understand that it doesn't just end there. You could have won Amazing Race, but you understand that the long-term process is something you have to be invested in. And a lot of people, you know, they get caught up in the moment. They look at the short-term, you know, gratification where, you know, how amazing it would be to win this, and they would ride that wave for a bit. But what's cool about you is you know that you're in it for the long game. You know, you've got this vision and you're trying to make an impact that's lasting, which doesn't end with the TV show. So while some might end there, whether you came first, second, third, last, whatever, you know, you are going to make greatness out of it and take experiences from that and apply it, because you also do speaking and you do other gigs, right? Tell us a bit about that, because I know that I saw on your website you do some coaching, you do some speaking. You know, you make an impact after I saw a review that someone did the other day on your Facebook page.
Yeah, I just want to touch on what you just said, just that it's not just given. Like, success is not just given. If we were just to be given our end goal right away, be at the top of whatever career or goals we're trying to achieve, and just be put at the top, just like how I was put at the top of the mountain, you wouldn't be able to survive. Straight up, you wouldn't be able to survive. You would fall, because you didn't go climb up the mountain. You didn't endure the pain and the sweat and the heartache. You didn't see what kind of vegetation was along the way, right? Yeah. You're at the top of the mountain. How can you survive if you don't know what's below? You know, True. That's the process we all have to go through. By going through that process, we're being built. We're building strength. We're finding out where the food is, or where we can eat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the analogy I try to say to people. Like, if it was easy, everybody would do it. You know, we'd just be dropped over there. But part of the process of sustaining and being the top is enduring that climb up the mountain. So I understand that everything I go through is for whatever I'm gonna end up at, and that's what's building me the strength. What I went through living in Toronto, I had various near-death experiences. Like, I've been stabbed before. I've had a gun held at me, you know, wow. But that, although those were horrible times, that those things have made me so mentally tough that, like, there's barely anything that could break me, except the snake, maybe.
Yeah, man, no doubt.
But yes, I do speaking, and I pride myself on just speaking fire into people, speaking seeds of growth, seeds of knowledge into people. And it's funny that I'm even considered a speaker, because I'm the kid who's in high school. I failed everything in grade 9, everything except for phys ed and drama, just because
of course
I liked.
Yeah.
I went to school, and I remember being in grade 10. So in Ontario, grade 9 is kind of like your year just to figure out what level you're at. And then grade 10 is where they place you in general, basic, or advanced. So in Alberta, that's considered basic would be -3, general would be -2, advanced would be -1. So they put me in grade 10 in all -3, which is basic classes. So in English class, I'm learning words like cat, dog in grade 10, right? Wow. And in math, simple multiplications and divisions I'm learning. And I remember a teacher, Miss Gouveia from Father Henry Carr. Shout out to Miss Gouveia. I don't know where she's at, but one day I hope I could at least just tell her thank you. So I hope one day she hears this at least. She pulled me aside and she realized that I wasn't dumb. She's like, you are so much smarter than what people think you are. And she's like, even though this is a basic class, we're going to do general work in this class. And you're going to do general work while everybody does basic. And I'm going to give you that general credit. And I ended up passing, got great marks. And then next year I did advanced math. And she was my tutor and she helped me out. And I was getting like 80s and 90s. And wow. I remember just being so shocked because the kids I thought were so smart, I was getting the same grades as them, right? And that was just because I tried. I put the effort in and I saw that she believed in me, you know? So before I wouldn't even try because I just didn't want to fail. So if I'm going to fail, then what's the point of trying? You know, but he saw something in me. Anyways, long story short, just to connect the whole speaking thing. Because of all that, I kind of took the long way to get to advanced English, right? And growing up, my verbiage or the way I would speak was all slang, right? Because that's all I knew.
Yeah.
And I just remember being in my advanced English class and literally feeling like a fly on the wall. The reason why I'm saying this is I felt like everybody was speaking a different language. Even though they're speaking English that you and I are speaking today. But to me, at that time, was a total different language. And I didn't understand. I just felt stupid. So there would be times where the teacher would ask questions of specific novels we were supposed to read. And I never even read those novels, but I kind of like, you know, did a research, the Coles notes. And
yeah.
So I knew the answers. But I would never put up my hand to answer a question or ask a question. I would never even speak in that class. And it's just crazy because this is a kid that was afraid to speak, but now I give speeches all the time to my players, to different schools, different kids, different corporations. And it's just crazy. Like, man, like life is very special because you never know where your life may lead to. And I truly think the things that have happened to me along the way have prepared me for this. So it's very humbling to know that I'm able to speak to people when I was so afraid to speak myself.
You know what, man? I think it's cool that it not only ties into the fact that you struggled with English and now you're a speaker, but I think it ties into a bigger picture where you had someone believing in you when no one else did. And I, from an outside perspective, would think that is rooted within you. And one of the reasons why you have such a focus on giving back to the youth, man, because you very well know there's so many people that, whether they're privileged or underprivileged, there's people that don't believe in them, even though they have massive potential. So when there is a hero like yourself that can look within and say, you know what, even though they're struggling, there's still a reason to believe in that person as a kid. That's huge. And going back to what you said earlier, man, you're a tangible person. You're in front of these people in real life, right? So that's a hero and a role model that they can relate to and then they can look up to with confidence. So I think that's amazing, man. So one of my questions then is, you know, you've been on Amazing Race, Canada Heroes Edition, and you're a hero to so many. So who are your heroes that you look up to in all these times of adversity when you're overcoming troubles and you're seeking guidance? Who are your heroes, man?
Honestly, my heroes are my parents. My heroes are my parents. My mother, because, man, honestly, everything I am today, in terms of my perspective, my ability to give wisdom comes from my mom, and I never knew it till about sometime this year. I realized it. Ever since I've been a kid, my mom has always been instilling like seeds of greatness in me, like lines like, "If somebody can do it, so can you." Meaning there's no excuse, whether of being a black kid from Rexdale or having a bad injury or just not be feeling smart enough. Like, somebody was in my situation before and they were successful, so then I definitely have the tools to be successful. And anytime I go through a bad situation, my mom says, "Don't stress. After stress comes success," right? Little things like that, like that's the stuff my mom has been feeding into me. And my mom's just a hustler. Like, you see, I do so many different things. My mom has never allowed herself to be limited. It's like she came to Canada with a teaching degree, but unfortunately in Canada, her teaching degree isn't recognized. So she ended up becoming a nurse, right? She became a nurse, and she runs a salon also, and she does a bunch of different things. So I've seen my mom hustle, and that's been inspiring for me. I know laziness will never get me anything. Saturday mornings, my mom will wake me up to make me help her with some of the things that she was dealing with, and I'll just be awake because of the customers she was dealing with, knowing that she just worked the night before, and still she's up at 6 o'clock in the morning doing people's hair. Right, that's the type of things I would see, and that's what I started to emulate when I started to get serious with football. And my father, I got mad respect for my father. Like I said, my father's not the most vocal person, right? But I know he loves me, and I know he'll do anything for me, and I know he's proud of me. And the reason why my father is my hero is because he was in the Navy when I was growing up. Well, sorry, not when I was growing up. When I was born, he was in the Navy. And when I was conceived, he had an opportunity to travel the world and get an education and hopefully do something for his family. Now, the reason why I respect him is because he was already in a comfortable position, right? He was in the Navy, making decent coin in our country and respected. And for him to travel to another country, not knowing what was ahead, right? The fear of the unknown can always set us back from our goals, but had no idea what's ahead. Taking that risk, taking that sacrifice, being away from his kid and his wife for 4 years, I got mad respect for him, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I am today. If it wasn't for his sacrifice and his selflessness, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I got so much mad respect for him, because I went to Ghana like 2 years ago, and just being there, just seeing my cousins struggle and grind just to make it through the day just makes me so grateful to be in this country. Like on The Amazing Race, when that part when I was talking about this is a land of opportunity, a land where you don't have to have the same skin to be brothers and sisters. That's what I was talking about. Prior to that, I was telling them about the opportunity to just be in this country. Growing up when I was in university at X, I remember a game we were playing at SMU. It was a playoff game. And the national anthem went on, and I remember standing on the sidelines and just tears dripping down my eyes. Now, I'm not an emotional person. I'm an easygoing person. On the football field, I do get emotional. I'm a different person on the football field, but in general, like, you barely see me like slip. But it was just a moment that I just started thinking about where I am where I was at that point, and where my majority of my family's in Ghana, where the rest of my family was, knowing that why was I so fortunate to be given this opportunity to be in this country? And tears just started shedding down my face because I was just so grateful. And that's because my dad, so everything I do is not only for me, but for my parents and for my family in Ghana. My dream is to just make it big enough that I could be able to take care of my family back home. And that money would never be an issue for them. That's my dream goal.
That's amazing, man. Because I was going to ask you, what's the impact you're trying to make in this world throughout your life? Because looking at you right now, it's crazy to hear that story about you having tears at the national anthem. But it's humbling to know that you're aware and you're conscious of the fact that this is a land of opportunity. But what's more impactful is that you're actually doing something about it, because there's so many people, and all kinds of people, so do I, that know this is a great place. They know it's a place where you can make anything happen, but a lot of people take it for granted, and you're doing it, man. You're leveraging every single day, every single year to get better. And, you know, I know this is just a start from you, even though a lot of people are probably looking at you right now saying, wow, look at all that he's done. You know, this is just the freaking beginning. So what is the impact you want to make, man?
Honestly, the impact I want to make is that I want to inspire people to become the best versions of themselves. I truly believe that we all have a seed within us. We all have gifts within us that the world doesn't even know. So I just want people to aspire to be the best versions of themselves. But at the same time, sorry, I'm in my office.
No worries.
Yeah. I want to inspire people to be the best version of themselves, but at the same time, I want people to live with no labels, no labels whatsoever, not to be ever put in a box. Myself and my friends, we have this thing, we have the silent protest where we have, well, I was gonna show you, but anyways, we have the silent protest that anytime we get like a bottle like a water bottle, Gatorade water bottle or something like that has a label on it, we take it off. The reason why is because we truly believe that we're more than a label, you know. If I had like a Gatorade bottle and let's say I just put water in it, right? And you looked at that bottle, would you know it's water or would you just assume it was water? You just assume. It could be vodka, who knows, right?
Yeah.
But that's our silent protest. So we do that like everywhere, and it's kind of like automatic. Like if I get a bottle, I just take it off, not even think about it. So anyways, long story short, I refuse to be put in a box. I refuse to have a label put on me. I remember my second year teaching here. I went to Edmonton for just a weekend, and I was in West Edmonton Mall, and some random, I think she was an Israeli, a lady from Israel or something like that, somewhere in the Middle East. She was selling something, and she came up to me, she talked to me, tried to convince me to buy whatever she was selling. And I was like, yeah, I'm not buying it. And then she's like, I know you have money. I'm like, how do you know I have money? She's like, I know you. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, I know what you do. I'm like, what do you think I do? And at that point, I wasn't even dressed like how I'm dressed right now. I had like a hoodie and some jeans, maybe, right? And she's like, I know what you do. I'm like, what do you think I do? She's like, I know. Don't make me say it. I'm like, no. Tell me, what do you think I do? She's like, you sell drugs. I was like, oh, really? Why do you think that? And obviously it's because I'm a black guy, dreads, you know, like that's the stereotype, you know. And when I told her I was a teacher, she felt stupid. But that's the thing. Like when people look at me, if I'm not dressed a certain way, you probably think you never think I'm doing what the things I'm doing today. And I just refuse to be put in a box. I refuse to have a label on me, and I refuse to be fake. I'm just me, you know. I'm me 24/7. You know, whether I'm dressed like this or I'm dressed in the hoodie and jeans, I'm me.
I love that, man. I love that. It's touching to hear stories like that because it's real and it still happens to this day. So 2 more things before we wrap up, brother. What is the #1 book that you recommend in 2018? And what can we expect from Kwame going forward?
Okay, #1 book. I'm not sure if it's a 2018 book, but actually it's definitely not 2018.
Any
book.
year, man. It's all good.
2 years ago, I was dealing with a lot. Just a couple of situations happened back to back, and I stumbled upon this book called "The Obstacle Is the Way" by Ryan Holiday, and that book honestly just really changed my life, or my perspective. Let's just say my perspective of obstacles. You know, in that book, Ryan just deals with a lot of like Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and whatnot. And do you know much about Stoicism?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, like the Stoics just believe that like enduring pain is just kind of like part of the process. You know, you're going through pain without showing any feelings or complaining. That's their motto, right? So ever since then, I've pretty much been that way. I haven't been why is everything happened to me type guy. I just understood that whatever obstacles is in my way is part of my journey. And in that book, Ryan Holiday uses this story where there was once this emperor who was tired of the people in his community, just tired of the negativeness and just how people were living. So what he did was he put this big boulder at the entrance of the city gates at the entrance, so you couldn't get in. So nobody could get in the city, nobody could leave. And he put this big boulder and he hid, and he just watched people's reactions towards the boulder. Now, there's different merchants that need to get into the city, people that need to leave for various reasons. And he just watched people's reactions. Some people will come and just cuss off the emperor, saying how stupid he was. Other people will come and just cuss off their friends, try to move the rock and fail and just leave, right? And he just saw the various types of people and the different reactions he saw with them. And most of the people just gave up once they saw the boulder because it was in their way. There's no way to move it. Forget this. F the emperor.
Yeah.
And then there's this one guy, he comes, tries to push it. It's not happening. He runs back and pushes it even harder. It doesn't happen. Then he sees a tree and he breaks off a branch and finds a way to leverage the branch to move the boulder, right? Now, when he moved the boulder, he saw there was a chest underneath the boulder. There's a little treasure chest underneath the boulder. He opened the chest. There was a bunch of gold coins, and on top of the gold coins, there was a letter. And on the letter said, "The obstacle in the path becomes the path. Never forget, within every obstacle is an opportunity to improve our commission. Within every obstacle is an opportunity to improve yourself. Within every obstacle is an opportunity to grow." So ever since that's just my mentality. Anytime something negative happens, I feel like there's lessons and blessings in every situation. You just gotta have the eye to see it. So that's just been my perspective with everything. So yeah.
True that, man.
The obstacle is the way. Go get it.
Yeah. So yeah, man, to wrap it up, what do we expect from you in the future? What are your next steps? What do you got coming out? You got the book, you've got speaking. What is next from Kwame, man?
And I'm just trying to live my best life, man. I honestly don't know what's next. I'm just trying to I'm making the courageous effort to just flourish my gifts, grow my gifts, and wherever that takes me, that takes me. And I know I'm gonna go where I'm supposed to go. So that's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna put my best effort into everything I do, and wherever comes. I just know that I won't be put in a box. I'm a dynamic individual, and whatever I put my effort into is going to grow and flourish, and you're going to see 100% of Kwame Osei.
That's amazing, man. You know, this story's crazy as we're wrapping up here, where, you know, coming into this chat, it almost seemed like it would have been a chat about a football star and someone that got featured on TV and had all these blessings. But when you look within, man, this was a story about humility, breaking barriers and labels, and making a positive impact on people. So I hope you guys took something from Kwame's story, man. This guy's inspirational beyond belief. And if you can't tell from this, you know, go back and watch it, because this guy's making moves, man. And, you know, there's going to be no box that's going to hold this man back. So Kwame, man, I thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to link all of Kwame's details below, his website, his apparel line. Everything is going to be linked in the description, because, you know, this guy is filled with greatness, and I'm so stoked to see where you go, man, because I know it's going to be something truly special.
Thank you so much, man. I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and I'm excited for you, man. I've been following you over the last few years with the Purple Realtor, man. I love it, man. I'm looking forward to coming to Calgary to ride with you in the whip.
You bet, man. We'll get it going. We have big things coming. We'll talk about that offline, but it's exciting, man. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Comment below what your biggest takeaway is from Kwame's story. There's so much, but let me know what resonated with you, what impacted you, and he'll go back and check out these comments. So we're going to sign off here.
And don't forget to book me to come speak at your event. I got you.
Exactly, guys. Yeah, if you guys have an impact in the school, I'm going to connect you with someone I know has a big pull in the CBE. So link up Kwame whenever you have an opportunity. So we're going to sign off here, guys. Thank you again for tuning in, and we will see you in the next episode. Cheers.
All right, everyone, so there you have it. I hope you were able to take something impactful away from this interview that you're going to be able to apply to your own life. Please comment below what your biggest takeaway was. And if you have anyone in mind that you think I should interview next, thank you for tuning in. As always, please make sure you subscribe, and we will see you next time.